Hey everyone, happy new moon time. I wanted to make a video tutorial of my moon wheels after so many of you expressed interest in learning more about them last month. I was really happy to host a full moon gathering here where many women came and we crafted our own moon wheels and figured that maybe some of them might need a refresher and there were others who weren't able to come that still were interested to learn about them. So this is what we're going to do. I wanted to just give a little background about the moon wheels. This is a ritual that I've been doing for about 20 years. It started really just born from my own deep love and the feeling of connectedness with the moon and wanting to deepen that connection as well as to better understand how the moon works, like what are the cycles and how do they affect me in my life. And the end result has been not only understanding the moon cycles, but more importantly, really understanding the cycles of my own life. And that can be like the monthly cycles, whether it's my menses or my activities, my emotional state, my energy levels, whatever I'm charting at that time. Or I've been able to recognize seasonal cycles, and even I've recognized that I tend to have like a 3-year cycle in my life where the first year is all about like building something new, and the second year is a really active, thriving, busy time, and the third year is a bit of a repose where maybe some things fall away or there's some loss, but it's all leading me back to that new beginning. And so in understanding the cycles of your own life, it provides you with this sort of wisdom or an inner knowing, which can really help navigate life in a more graceful way or maybe with less anxiety, and knowing how to anticipate and deal with the ups and downs or the ebbs and flows of life right along with the moon. So without further ado, here are the moon wheels. Okay, so this is the actual template that I created all those many years ago of a moon wheel. And so a few things, just first of all, about the cycle of the moon. So you'll notice at the top we have 3 dark moons, or the new moon time, and opposite we have the 3 full moon days, and then there are the quarters in between. And so each lunar cycle is about 29.5 days. There are 30 days in this wheel. That means that we have to allow for adjustments every once in a while. It won't always exactly match up with the dates that you'll find in whatever resource you're using to chart the moon cycle. But so when the moon is moving from new moon to full moon, we say that the moon is waxing. And when the full moon is moving back towards a new moon, we call that the waning time. And we have, as I said before, the quarters. So we go from new moon to first quarter to full moon, which is like the second quarter, and then to the third quarter. When the moon is less than half full, we call this the crescent time. And when the moon is more than half full, that's the gibbous time. So we would say, for example, that this is a waxing crescent and a waxing gibbous and a waning gibbous and a waning crescent. So that's the gist of a lunar cycle. Okay. So here what I've done is I've just drawn 2 little stars on this line that comes right before the first of the 3 dark moons. This is where our moon cycle is going to begin, and so these stars are just helping to denote that. I just put one up on top there, and then one on the inner circle here. Okay, so now we start to fill in the dates, and the dates are corresponding to our Gregorian or solar calendar. September and October 2015 is where we're at today. And so when I look on any kind of resource, like there's some really great apps. There's Quick Phase Pro is a great program for charting moon wheels. I think you can even use like Ephemeris, but it's pretty easy to find lunar calendars online. And so I see that the new moon is actually falling on the 13th. And I look at the full moon and I see that it falls on the 27th. So ideally, when we don't have to make adjustments the new moon falls right on that center one, and same with the full moon. But as I said earlier, because this is a 30-day calendar for an approximate 29.5-day cycle, every once in a while we have to adjust. So I just moved the new moon over one day, and that kept the full moon in the right place. And as I looked ahead at the next couple of months, then it would be on track. So this is just one of those irregular months. So the first thing that I do is I figure out what those dates are, and then I just fill in the rest of the numbers. And when I get to the end of a month, like here, September 30th and October 1st, I put another little star on the inside of the circle, the inner circle. That's just letting me know that that's where the new month is starting. And even though these numbers do run perfectly, like 8, 9, 10, 11, this technically is September 11th, and this is October 10th. And so the next moon wheel would begin October 11th here, although that's not always the case, so you can't rely on that. And then on the very inside of the circle, I put the days of the week. And that just helps me keep track when I'm journaling, or, I use this calendar as a calendar. So, okay, so after that step, then what I like to do is, because I'm into astrology, I look to see where the moon is in the zodiac as it travels through its cycle. And so on some of these same applications, they have a really easy little button you can switch between just the calendar and the zodiac, or the astrological calendar. And so I fill that information in. You might be interested in that or not. The moon, when it travels through different signs, it has different energies depending on the phase of the moon, where the sign lands. There will be different energies. So if you're into astrology, that might be a step for you. And if you're not, then you could certainly skip it. So here's where we get to the moon code, which you see down below here. The moon code for me has changed a lot over the years, because I change over the years, and there are different things that I'm trying to chart. So usually always, or actually always, I have, symbols for my menses. And that's just letting me know when I'm bleeding, or when I'm ovulating, or, if I'm spotting, or if I've got cramps. And then from there, I'm gonna have to change my position. Okay. From there, all of these little symbols, I just kind of make them up as I go along, So you'll see ritual. This is just if I pray every morning, and if I write every morning, which is my morning ritual. Divination is if I maybe give myself a tarot reading, or if I'm, using some divination practice or tool. Passion can indicate intimacy. Success might just be if I have like a red letter or a gold star day. Exercise, if I'm feeling creative, if I just feel like I'm running on empty, so on and so forth. You can kind of look and see what my code is. But you are welcome to create your own version of a moon code. And I'll show you some previous moon wheels that I've done towards the end of this video, and you'll see that there are variations of that. So that just leaves this top section right here, and over the years I've used that area for different things. In recent years, mostly as part of my new moon ritual, I give myself a tarot reading for the month ahead. And so that's what you see up here. I do a 5-card spread, which represents a complete cycle. There's the genesis, or the very beginning of the cycle, the initiation, or the first steps, the consummation, which is the very active phase, the repose, which is kind of like when you step back and look at what's just happened and reevaluate, let go of certain things that aren't working, and move towards the closure, which will bring about the new beginning. And that's just been a really great discipline for me. But this could be an area where you might explore different kinds of moon traditions. Let's see if I've got any. Oh, and sometimes I guess also you can color them, which I used to do all the time, but I have a kid now, so it gets to be an extra step I don't get to. And there's some slight changes in my moon code here. Okay, so like back in 2002, this moon wheel, I was studying the Celtic tree months. And so each moon was associated with a different tree. And so I would study that and meditate on that throughout the month. Native Americans oftentimes associate their moons with different energies, symbols, totems, medicines, and most cultures in the world, because all cultures, started with a lunar calendar. They have some associations for each of the 13 lunar months in a lunar year. So that can be a really great exploration, or, if you are interested in learning about astrology or tarot, or maybe even just the phases of the moon, this area can be whatever you want to learn more deeply, I guess. And this one I like to share just because this was when I was pregnant and about to give birth, and so you can see I had I wasn't bleeding at that time, so if I was having some pressure waves, as we called them, or if I was feeling sick, if I was lactating, felt my baby kick, and there was the big birth one, which I've only been able to use that symbol one time in my life, but oof, I was so happy when that one happened. So anyway, that is the end of the tutorial, and I hope that you might adopt this ritual into your life and find it as rewarding and lovely as I have found it in mine. Okay, thanks. Happy New Moon.